Topping today's news, the opposition leader bashing the Prime Minister over his failure to address crime. Prime Minister Davis defends the budget and commends his ministers as he wraps up the budget debate today. The Bahamas Union of Teachers takes issue after not being consulted about Cuban teachers, and 3 men sexually assault a woman while on East Bay Street on Wednesday. This is your JCN Evening News. I'm Dorino Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Prime Minister Philip Davis coming under fire on Wednesday night from leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, who pointed out that despite the high levels of crime and fear of crime by Bahamian citizens, the nation's leader did not address the issue during his opening contribution to the budget debate.
Second, combined, I believe the Prime Minister, the member for Cat Island, spoke for about 5 hours. But in his initial speech, 216 pages. Forgive me if I'm misrepresented, if I missed it. Sorry, if all of us missed it. We could not find one mention of crime, one mention of murder. It was addressed 0 times by the Prime Minister. We didn't hear either of those 2 words, and I'm sure the member for Freetown will address it. The question is, what kind of leadership can look at what's happening in our streets, in our schools, in our homes, and decide it does not warrant serious attention? If it is so important, how does one stand up for 3 hours and not talk about the thing that has your population in fear?
As it relates to serious crimes, while the number of murders are behind those of 2024, in recent weeks there has been a spike and the number of murders has quickly jumped to 40 for the year. There have also been a high number of attempted murders, armed robberies, particularly related to carjackings. Mr. Pintard asked the government the following question.
So where's the plan? Where is the plan for intervention, for community policing, for victim services? This government talks about certainty, but Bahamians feel anything but certain walking on our streets. Member for Freetown. Mr. Deputy, Bahamians are not imagining danger, they are living it. Yes. Parents are unsure if their children will make it home safely. So when people hear of a shooting, many times the first thing they reach for is a phone to call to see where their loved one is. And that's widespread. Shopkeepers lock their doors before dark. Sometimes they keep it locked all day. And communities cry out for help that sometimes come too slow or too late. While we will continue to communicate responsibly, we will not understate the extent of the crisis that the country faces. This level of rising violence is not normal.
Free National Movement leader, Mr. Michael Pintard. Prime Minister Philip Davis today wrapping up the budget debate, fiscal year 2025-2026, and his theme was expanding opportunities. The Prime Minister went down the list, thanking each of his cabinet ministers for the work that they are doing to provide opportunities and better lives for Bahamians as they deliver on their promises. The Prime Minister once again defended the government's claims to have a balanced budget and a projected surplus by the end of the year. He touted the government's island-by-island economic redevelopment with widespread infrastructural upgrades. During the afternoon session, members will go through the heads of the budget before passing it and sending it on to the Senate for debate next week. The new fiscal year begins on Tuesday, July 1st. The country has experienced a number of major fires in recent times, including the fire that destroyed the Costrite Shopping Center and the Department of Labor's new headquarters, and the downtown fire that ravaged Victoria Court Apartments, in addition to multiple bushfires on Grand Bahama, Abaco, Andros, Eleuthera, and right here in New Providence. These fires expose the limitation of the nation's firefighting capabilities and resources. Well, during debate on the budget, the Minister of National Security, Wayne Munro, said the government has allocated funds in this budget to assist with fire services.
That the Ministry of Finance has determined to give the fire chief Chief Superintendent Morris of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Fire Branch all of the equipment he has asked for.
Did you say they didn't need it?
All of the equipment he has asked for. And at the end of the day, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the first thing I read from Politrix continues to be the truth. All of it is being provided, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We're providing the manpower, which they never did, at the rate that we did. And we're promoting persons in numbers that they never did.
The National Security Minister was also asked, what is the government doing to prevent human trafficking incidents into and through the Bahamas, especially in the southern Bahamas?
The new CDF of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, with the 4 new safe boats that the Ministry of Finance, has determined that there are going to be small boat operations increased in the northern Bahamas, Central and South Abaco. So you're getting your small boat patrols to prevent the smuggling of persons to our neighbors to the north and the stealing that happens on the waterways.
Mr. Monroe reminded that national security recently received several new safe boats and that there are provisions for the final acquisition of the new HMBS A.D. Hanna Royal Bahamas Defense Force vessel. Long Island residents have been asking successive governments for upgrades to the Deadman's Key International Airport. As part of the Davis administration's Airport Renaissance project, a major step was taken on Wednesday when the government signed a $20 million contract with Bahamas Hot Mix to begin upgrades to the runway at Deadman's Key. Prime Minister Philip Davis says this has been a long time coming for Long Island.
This runway, combined with the recent road and water project, represents a clear, coordinated vision for Long Island, one that treats the island not as an afterthought, but as a priority, one that backs up talk with action. We expect this project to create jobs for Bahamians, particularly Long Islanders, and we will ensure that it moves forward with accountability, transparency, and the required urgency.
The minister with responsibility for Public Works and Family Island Affairs, Clay Sweeting, shared more specifics on the repairs to be carried out beginning in July and will last for some 12 months.
This project is comprehensive. It includes major earthworks such as the removal of a significant hillside to bring the airstrip in line with International Civil Aviation Organization standards, and the construction of a brand new asphalt runway built higher to improve drainage and reduce flooding. Abby spoke briefly in regards to the scope, which will be excavation and grading, durable 2-inch thick hot asphalt mix surface, 12 new drainage wells, perimeter security fencing, 100 solar runway apron lights, and all necessary striping and finish works.
Chester Cooper, the minister responsible for aviation and tourism, along with executives of Bahamas Hot Mix, were also on hand for that signing. And finally, in this segment, Belinda Wilson, newly re-elected president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, has taken issue with the government after a decision was made to cancel a long-standing contractual agreement with the Cuban teachers without first consulting with the teachers union. The decision by the government was made following expressed concerns by the United States over alleged forced labor by the Cuban government. A perturbed Wilson released an audio message where she expressed her frustrations.
First of all, the announcement that the Cuban teachers recruitment program was halted should not have been made by the Minister of Health, but by the Minister of Education. Secondly, we should not have been hearing it for the first time from the House of Assembly. So the Ministry of Education should have informed the Bahamas Union of Teachers of the dilemma, and they should have held meetings to discuss the way forward. Sadly, this was not done.
Mrs. Wilson noted that teacher recruitment exercises to Cuba were canceled in April and May this year, suggesting the Ministry of Education knew there were challenges ahead and still did not consult the union. The government announced plans to re-engage a number of retired Bahamian teachers to help fill the gaps created. Mrs. Wilson still has her doubts.
And I note that retired teachers will be re-engaged. The Bahamas Union of Teachers supports that. However, there are 130 Cuban teachers presently in the teacher work program, many of whom will be traveling back to Cuba this week for their summer break, which begs the question, will they be returning? We need to know what is their status, and if they are not returning, how will the gap be filled? Because the Cuban Teachers Recruitment Program has existed for about 20 years. Today, the future of that program is uncertain.
Reportedly, the Ministry of Education has plans to recruit teachers from the United States and Canada, but the Bahamas Union of Teachers president does not believe this initiative would work because of the salary disparity between the Bahamas and the U.S. and Canada. Meanwhile, the Cuban teachers will be offered new contracts if they decide to remain in the Bahamas. Those unwilling to accept the new terms will be allowed to conclude their affairs and return to Cuba. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following these commercials.